So welcome everyone to the Women in Leadership webinar today. And my name is Bryony and I'm from Gerald Training, and this is our lovely HQ up here. And so today is all about sharing women in leadership thought processes, how we can improve our leadership if you're in a leadership position, if you're someone who's an aspiring leader, some tips on how to get kind of into a sort of mindset space of how we can shift any kind of blocks that may be happening with our women in leadership kind of lens, but also speaking through a women in leadership course that I run called Elevate, and I'd love to share that as we go through as well. So to begin with, as I'm sure you're already kind of guessing, I want this to be interactive. I want us to talk through the chat. If you feel compelled to unmute, then please feel free as well. There's not too many of you, so we can't manage that. But I want to create a psychologically safe space. If you know what I mean, pop it in the chat. And if you don't, no worries. What this is about you feeling safe and comfortable to be able to share where you're at. So everything that you write in the chat today, between me and everybody in this space, I'd invite us all to just keep it confidential, because I think part of the joy of running these types of things is that as women in leadership positions, we are able to actually honestly share when we have challenges and barriers. We don't have to name names or businesses or anything like that unless you want to. And again, we'll keep it confidential. If you all agree, pop yes if you do agree in the chat. That would be amazing. But I think it's really important that the more honest we are, the more we can actually have open discussions, and then we can actually shift through anything that's not feeling so great. Thank you, everyone, as those yeses are now coming in. I appreciate it. Even if you don't interact so much today, that would be a really appreciated thing if you could pop yes in the chat for me. So to make it psychologically safe, I can't force you to feel psychologically safe. All I can do is help with that space. So I'm going to invite you to do a few things for me. I invite you to be an active participant. This is your time. And I know that even finding an hour in a busy schedule, no matter what you're doing, is tricky. So thank you for showing up for yourself, and thank you for being here with me today. Any questions, any concerns, raise it in the chat. Let us know. Unmute yourself, ask away, because if you're thinking of a question, it's worth typing it because someone else might be thinking it too. Also, we're all going to have different opinions, viewpoints, perceptions, experience, and this is all great. We're going to have people who have been leaders for ages. We're going to have people who are new and people who are aspiring, and this is all brilliant. So we've all got things we can learn from each other, which is fantastic. We can agree or disagree. I'm not the oracle, but I'm going to be sharing things that I believe are really powerful in a leadership space and that have been tried and tested with lots of people. And also, there might be something today that you try that's different and new to you. And as much as possible, I invite you to be yourself. And so with that, if you are in your own home, if you've got kids running around the background, if you're breastfeeding in the middle, I don't care. That's all good. Don't feel like you have to mute yourself into like or hide or go off camera or anything like that. Show up as you are, which is brilliant. So a little bit about me. My name is Bryony. And I have had the pleasure of working in the leadership space for over 20 years now. And I adore working with people in terms of unlocking their potential. So I'm a bit of a geek for neuroscience. I do love the mindset like behind things, as well as the tangible tools to support the individual and then develop the team and the dynamic. And so my career started way back when as a professional musical theatre performer. And that's where I really liked the connection of the body and the mind. And that's then where I then shifted into the education space and became a qualified teacher, therapist, hypnotherapist, and started working with businesses about how they could unlock potential in their leaders, in their teams, and in their individuals. And this by utilizing the whole of our bodies and minds and how we actually interact and create communities. So very much from the tangible tools of leadership to the well-being to the individual, that's my jam. So today we are going to be doing a quick snapshot of the leadership model that I teach over Elevate. And today is not just me going, hey, there's a women in leadership course, why don't you come on it? But of course, hey, if you want to come on a women in leadership course, come along. But I want you to use this hour to be able to start to plant seeds about how you're moving in your career and how you are showing up as yourself in your workplace. And there'll be questions I invite you to write down, and then you can go away and reflect on them later. There'll be things where I might ask a question and you can pop it in the chat and see what's, coming up for you right now. And after this training as well, I will also be sending you a free workbook, which relates to what we've been talking about today. So if you want to then explore it yourself, you can then start to do some reflections on where you're at and start to make some steps all by yourself. So does that sound good? Are we all still with us? I'm loving the fact that you're already in the chat, which is fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to go back a little bit. There's some ancient wisdom we can learn here. This webinar is not going to be me spending an hour talking about the frustrations of women being underrepresented or anything like that, because I'm sure we're aware of it. And so Socrates said the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And that's what this is all about. We don't need to dwell as such, but we need to actually look at how we can then improve and develop ourselves as we go through to make us feel good. So I'm going to bring a couple of stats in just for our awareness before we step right in. So here's some pictures, which I think do sort of say it all. Globally, women hold just 24% of senior leadership positions, and women make up less than a third of the top jobs in the UK. But this isn't just about having a top job. This is about any space where we are managing, we're leading. And by the way, a leader means anyone who is influencing other people around them. So whether you have a title of a leader or not, it doesn't matter. It's about how you show up in the space. And so this is what we're going to be looking at today. So today we're going to be looking at the characteristics of a centered leadership approach. This is about the model that I use and teach in my leadership program, but also something that you may want to go away and explore as well. We're going to also explore some self-auditing exercises for your personal and professional development. And we're all about learn, develop, and be brilliant here at Gerald Training. So learning with a high quality training, developing ourselves and integrating and applying the things that you learned today and going off and actually using them. And then you being brilliant, doing what you do, and then using those results to go out into your teams to build their skills and build their potential. And so, oh, sorry, we're going to take a pit stop. And there might be some of you that go, okay, let's do this. This will be great. And there might be some of you goes, what are you doing? This is so weird, and kind of doing a little bit of an eye roll. And that's all good. I invite you just to be open with this. But I want to take just a second to take a couple of breaths to center us in the space, because hands up or pop it in the chat if you're someone who just feels like they're going on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go, and never takes a second to stop. So I want you just to place your hands on your desk, your table, your legs, whatever's in front of you. Sit up as tall as you can. Imagine you've got an invisible string coming out the top of your head. And if you want to, you can close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable, you can just find a spot and like focus your eyes on that space. And I want you just to take a couple of breaths in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And any thoughts as you're just breathing for a moment, going, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. Oh, there's people walking past the room. Oh, this feels really weird. Just let them in and then blow them away. One more. Breathing in. And breathing out. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Let me know in the chat how you're feeling now. Sometimes we forget to just take a second for ourselves, even when lots of things are going on. And so I'm just inviting you to be present in this moment. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and there's no way you're going to absorb all of it right now. So like I said, there'll be a recording for you to revisit. But also remember, whatever lands is the thing that's right. It's perfect and correct for right now. So that's great. More focused, relaxed and present, calmer, lovely. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. So I'm going to start with our centered leadership capability model. And so I'm going to talk you through this model so that you can start to kind of reflect on where you're at in your space right now in your career. Actually, I'd love in the comments to let me know, what do you do? Where do you work? If you want to put the business, or you could just let me know your role as we go through, that would be brilliant as I talk you through this. So the centered leadership model, this is something that has been designed to build the ability for leaders to be mindful in those real key moments of their leadership challenges, the decisions, as well as the day-to-day stuff. And so this is commonly used in Fortune 100 companies, and it was developed by someone called Joanna Bosch and Joanne LeBoy from the McKinsey company. They've actually written a book, The Centered Leadership Model. So if you actually want to explore further and have a good read, it's a fantastic book. But the centered leadership approach is not just about women, it's for men as well. It's just the reason that I chose this for Elevate is that it particularly resonates with women because it actually works on the sort of three key things that commonly happen with women in leadership. So often women can opt out of leadership or step away from it earlier in their career than men for various reasons. Women are often the people who are carry the invisible workload. You know, that extra stuff, the household stuff, remembering when the bins go out, maybe it's motherhood stuff, whatever it might be, is that extra stuff that drains energies in a different way. And like I said, it's not exclusively women, but is majoritively in studies shown that it's a more woman focused thing. And then the third thing is about the genetic disposition of women. So we tend to have more emotional ups and downs more intensely than men do. And this can be because of hormones. It could be we've got other things to navigate, pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause, baby loss, lots of different things that can be more female driven. And so these can potentially hinder our sort of psychological approach to going to leadership. And this model is about recognizing that not as something that's a weakness, but something that we can use within our leadership to help us actually flourish. So I'm going to take you through a kind of whistle-stop tour of these capabilities today. And like I said, I'll ask you questions as we go through that you can reflect on if you wish. Thank you for all your jobs, by the way. I am looking at them as we go through. So we start with meaning. This is our core strengths, our purpose, our far-sighted vision. And this is all about having a shared purpose. We tend to perform better as humans when we know why. Has anyone ever been in a situation where someone's asked you to do something and you're just going, why? And then the actual approach to that task, you're a bit like, well, I'll do it, but I don't have the same passion. Whereas if someone goes, I'd love you to do this, and the reason we're doing this is because of this, this, and this, and gives you a bigger picture, suddenly you get more energized to actually do it, and you have much more context. So this is about making sure that we know the meaning behind ourselves before we then communicate anything else beyond that. Connecting is about building those trusted relationships, not only with ourselves, but also with others. So building informal and formal networks and how we develop our communities. Energizing is about how we actually bring an awareness and a management of our own energy, because our energy is precious. And so we want to be able to be sustaining our leadership. We want to sustain our energy so we can be great leaders, but also can come out of our workspace and actually feel like a good human being and enjoy life the other side as well. Framing is about positively framing negative situations. So shifting any kind of habitual patterns in ourself and in our work and our culture as well. So we can then start to build a team and a dynamic and a culture around us that also celebrates when things go wrong, and then using them as learning tools and actually then developing and strengthening ourselves in all those aspects as well. And then engaging, it's about stepping into our leadership decisions, our action, getting results, and making sure that it's got intentionality and it's collaborative, and we're actually able to take risk without the fear of what will happen behind it, because a lot of people find risk really hard. So this has been tested for over 10 years, and well, actually that'll probably be longer now, so probably about 15 now actually. So this is something that is tried and tested, and I've shared this model with countless cohorts on my Elevate Women in Leadership course as well, and it's just something that seems to really connect, so I'm hoping that you'll connect with it today as well. So something for me, I believe that it's really important that when we are learning new things that we come from the right space and we build the foundations in the correct way. Has anyone ever succumbed to maybe one of those diet plans or fitness plans on social media where you see someone doing something and you're like, oh, I need this like 5 minutes a day, and you'll get like a ripped abs, or you'll feel more energized, or whatever it is? Anyone ever fell for that in their vulnerable moments? Yeah. That sort of thing is all built on our behaviors and habits. And often when we are trying to learn new things and create new skills, we start there in the behaviors and habits space. And we think if we put all these habits in, then actually we'll be able to get success. But I'm going to kind of disrupt that cycle for a moment. And you don't have to agree with me, like I say. But for me, I have found that if I start from identity and environment, then we move into strategy and mindset. And then only then do we go to behavior and habits. That is a secret for success. So, what I mean by that is identity and environment. Who are you? Where are you? Like, what are you doing in your environment? So when you're at work and you're leading, like, what kind of environment do you work in? What kind of people are you around? What kind of leader are you? What energizes you? What drains you? What is going on with yourself, which then ripples out? Only from there, we can then look at the mindset behind it. So it's like, where do I believe I'm really strong? Where am I maybe talking not so great about myself in my own head, or not jumping at opportunities, or speaking openly about what you can do, and or apologizing maybe for something that you didn't need to, that kind of thing. We want to look at the mindset that's like securing that. And then once we've looked at that, we can then build the behaviors and habits that are going to be something that's really going to shift that mindset and actually then allow you to flourish. So anytime you look at those things, thank you for admitting that, Marie. All the time you do that kind of thing. Yeah, they can be really tricky. And it's because they're speaking to that top bit. We need the things underneath beforehand. And so that's what I'd like you to approach with this. And so our meaning is all about that core strength, their purpose, the far-sighted vision. So I'd like you to think about your happiness, your core strengths, your purpose, your far-sighted vision. Why is meaning important to us as leaders? Well, actually, it's studies have shown that people who have a purpose and a meaning behind it, a why behind it, they have greater job satisfaction, more happiness, more productivity, lower staff turnover in their teams, increased loyalty, and more retention with people who work with them. So it's worth considering it. So here's some questions that you're very happy to answer in the chat. I'd love to hear any snapshots as we go through, or you can scribble them down and journal on them later. It's up to you. But do you know what truly makes you happy? And that might be a question you've maybe never asked before. And like, actually, you think, oh, it should be obvious, shouldn't it? But not necessarily. What makes you happy? Do you know what your zone of genius is? And what I mean by that is that's your core strength. That's what are you really good at? And people go, God, you're so good at that. And you're like, oh, am I? Because it comes so natural to you. You perhaps don't even realize the power of what it is that you do. Something that sort of just flows out of you without thinking about it. I'd love to know, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? What are your core values? Because with that, it's about that pursuit for the purpose. And again, with all these, by the way, if you don't know the answer to these, that's fine. This isn't about shaming anyone because they don't know it. And also, these are ever evolving because we're ever evolving human beings, yeah? But these are just things to plant seeds in for you to now start to go, I don't know. Perhaps I could have some fun exploring this. Zoom out to zoom in. What is your bigger picture? If you're in the picture, you can't see the big picture. So, what's going on with your bigger picture? Where you are right now, what's your bigger vision, your mission? Where do you want to be? What do you want to contribute that may be bigger than yourself? Like anything like that. Do you know any of those things? Being around people making things we're proud of. Thanks, Ellen. That's a lovely share. Have a little think of those for a moment and pop them in the chat if you wish, because this is really exciting. And it's not about, oh no, I don't know it. It's the exciting part of like, who am I? What am I doing? Sometimes we don't have time to even consider it. And in Elevate, what we do is we go through a lot of different questions to start to explore who we really are, what's important to us, what's not important to us. And actually, we also explore, and I don't know if anyone's used it before, let me know in the chat if you have, Insights Discovery. It's a psychometric profiling tool that you answer some questions on an evaluator, and the algorithm's incredibly powerful, and it uses a psychological tool to be able to then profile your personality. And we go through that, check that you feel like it's absolutely bang on you, and then we look at that and how you come across to your teams, how you are sharing. But it also helps us recognize any areas where we may want to develop potential blind spots that we don't realize we're doing. And it's a very, very powerful tool that then ripples throughout the entire course. Lindsay, you use Insights Discovery. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, absolutely. Dancing and artistic expression, Michelle, love that. And helping people reach the best of themselves in a professional way. Thank you, Michelle. That's really lovely. Sam is all connected to relationships. Yeah, absolutely. Building the strength in those relationships. Really lovely. Yeah, fantastic. And please all make sure you're looking at everyone's chat answers as well. Wendy, you love the training on insights with Gerald and on the psychometric testing. Yes, excellent. It's such a powerful tool because it helps us build really powerful teams and helps us build our careers in a really fantastic way. So we're going to go on to connecting now. Connecting is our next stage in our capabilities model, and this is about our trusted relationships and our networks and communities. Now, unlike the centered leadership approach in its book and in the way that it's shared by Joanna Barsh, I actually break this down into two extra components. I want to look at how you connect with yourself and how you trust yourself when you do things, when you make decisions, when you take action, as well as how you connect with your team, because it's really important that we do both. Because if you don't, again, know what yourself, yourself and how you're coming across and what may be holding you back, we're not going to know how we can then get the most out of our team as well. And so with connecting, it's proven that actually people with strong networks and good mentors enjoy more opportunities. They get higher pay, greater career satisfaction, more fulfillment and happiness. And so here's some questions for you in the connecting space. So do you truly know yourself and your thought patterns? Have you really listened to that inner dialogue that goes on in your head? And we all have it in different ways. But is there a chance that you've thought about what's maybe a hidden block, an inhibitor, something that maybe triggers you in a negative way that actually holds you back from doing something? On Elevate, we really explore those because they can be the key to unlocking loads of opportunities we just maybe didn't realize we were thinking in a certain way. Do you know how to effectively adapt your communication style? And just like before, everyone, answer in the chat as you start to think of things. I know I'm going through things quickly. If we are always communicating in the way that we want to be communicated with, we are potentially like inhibiting our communication with other people because we are all really different. I wonder if there's some of you in this room who just love to know, like, just tell me the like bullet points, like boom, boom, boom. I'll get the gist and I'll go off and do something. Other people are like, no, I need that information and that information and that information and then that information. And only then can I go and do the job properly. Other people might be like, I need to have a bit of energy behind it. I want to hear your enthusiasm when you give me a task so that I can go away and go for it. Other people might want to take some time really considering what they're doing and how it's going to affect people. We're all going to be different and we're all going to have a mix of things in different scenarios. But if we can understand how we come across and are perceived by other people, we can then start to adapt the way we're communicating for different people. So we can then get the most effective solution or resolve, or, the information is actually landing well for that other person, which is then ultimately giving us really great communication, which will then impact our results and our targets and all sorts of things we may have at work as well. Do you actively develop relationships for your career advancement? So this is an interesting one. So Harvard Business Review said that actually with men, they tend to have more broader networks, and women, we tend to have smaller but deeper networks. So we can learn from both sides because there's power in both. And the idea of having a sponsor, I don't know if anyone knows what that is a very kind of newer thing coming across from the UK. To the UK, but this is about having someone who essentially will speak about you and put you forward for things when you're not even in the room because they believe in your strength and your skill set. And so that can be a male or female, it doesn't matter. But it's someone who has the power to make things happen and put you forward in a great space. So studies have shown that women tend to not really have so many connections like that compared to our male counterparts. And so perhaps thinking about, do you like going out there and, letting people know what you want or what you're good at so that people can start to find opportunities for you, or you're like, absolutely not, I don't want to do it. Reciprocity. We need to ask for what we want, but hands up if some of you get the ick when you're actually going, the thought of saying, I want that opportunity or I want that pay rise or whatever can feel really scary. And so in those social interactions, in those networking situations, and by the way, when I say networking, I don't mean just going to a networking event. I mean all the time when you're interacting with other people, that is networking. Right now, you have the potential to be networking with each other in the chat. But women tend to, and I like this kind of sentence, is often describe networking as eating your veg. You'd rather not do it, but you kind of know you should. Does anyone else agree with that one? Or you might be thinking that doesn't feel relevant to my job role. And often that is, again, just a place to kind of think about in terms of a potential blind spot for you. Because if we're thinking, oh, no, it wouldn't be relevant, then actually there's probably even more reason it is relevant, weirdly or not, because our brains like to keep us safe, stick to what we know, or stick to what everyone else is doing. And this is a little bit more about let's ask for what we want and go for what we want, even when it feels a little bit scary. So on Elevate, we really explore that connection between ourselves and our team. And we look at how we can embrace different leadership styles, that feminine, masculine energy, and actually embrace what we want and asking for it. And we do that through lots of different ways, which is going to be very interactive on the course as we go through. Rebecca, thank you for sharing. You hate asking for anything. Yeah. And there's going to be different personality types. Some personality types are going to be going, I always ask for what I want. No problem. And that's great. Other personality types will be going, that feels really scary. So it's about finding that area for you to develop. So I do have a little task for you. It's not for now because it does take some time, but if you want to write it down, and I will pop it in the workbook as well, you're very welcome to. So essentially you do 2 columns, and one, you write people you've worked with. And I don't mean just right now, I mean in your entire career. So this is why it's not for now, because it'll take a while, yeah? So you write down everyone you can think of people you've worked with. And then you write down all the people you've had like a moderate connection with. And again, you might think, why? Why would I do that? But actually, this is about really getting to see how many people you do network with all the time and you have networked with forever. And this is a task that's usually ongoing because you start to think of random people and people come out of the back of your mind that you maybe not even thought of for ages. What you're then going to do once you feel like you've got enough names on the list to play with, you're going to put them into some quadrants. So you're going to look at high influence people and low influence people. And I only mean that in terms of in your career and in the industry you're in, what influence do they have versus not so much? And we're just being honest, this isn't about being mean to anyone. And then people you've got like not a great degree of comfort with, maybe it feels a bit like, oh, I kind of know them, but not really. Like I kind of met once, I'd feel a bit weird about talking to them. And other people, you've got a higher degree of comfort. Like you feel like you could reach out to them on LinkedIn or, email them or go say hello, at a networking event or whatever. And only then can you look at what comes in this top bit here, the sweet spot, I like to call it. And this is where your potential sponsors and influencers for you to then get whatever the next thing you want is, whether you want some help with something or you want to get a mentor or you want to expand your career or go for a promotion or whatever it might be, the people in that space are more likely to be the ones that are worth connecting with. But also you're more likely to need more names in that space because if you haven't been actively being aware of people around you, you may not have so many people. So it's a great exercise to kind of just get the lay of the land. Yeah. What was the right side of task 1? That is people you've had a moderate connection with. So people you've like met maybe at a work conference, maybe once, and then you became connections on LinkedIn and you haven't spoken since. That kind of thing. Yeah. They're people you can still potentially connect with, but people that you're not speaking to all the time or seeing about. I'll pop this all in the workbook though, so you can then look at it later. So let me know in the chat if you're going to give that one a go, because it's a really interesting task, because some people will have more people in there than you think, and some people might not so much, but you might surprise yourself. So as we move through then our centered leadership model, we're then going into the strategy and the mindset space as we work our way up through the transformation triangle. So we look at framing. So this is about Well, if we see life in an optimistic way, we're more likely to get more out of it. So actually, if we can look at the way that we are approaching things and positively framing things, we are more likely to kind of get through navigating challenges or adversity or anything like that. There's a really interesting case of, have you heard of Avon? I'm sure most of us have, the makeup company. Um, Andrea Young was the CEO of Avon, and she famously, at one point when Avon was really not doing well at all, she fired herself on a Friday night. And then on Monday morning, she rehired herself and she decided to show up. She did it all publicly within the company. And she decided to show up at work with a fresh mindset and just go, right, we're in a new space now. I'm not sitting in that kind of old story about this isn't going to work anymore and no one's buying this stuff anymore and no one's working this way. No one's doing the brochures through the door, that sort of thing. She decided to change her mindset and show up glass half full. And then she began the recovery plan. The management team adopted everything very, very quickly. And then they got that steady return to growth and is carrying on thriving. So there's a real power. It doesn't have to be so extreme as you fire yourself and rehire yourself. But there is something in the mindset that when we really shift and go, do you know what? What if I'm looking at this thing that's not working so well from a lens of what can I learn from it and take action from it? It really does support yourself. So thinking about here, what's your automatic self-talk? Do you know what those common thought patterns or your like reactions are? That could be a physiological reaction, your heart rate going or your breathing, or you get like, oh no, that person's now coming. This is going to be a bad interaction, or you've just been called into the office by your boss and suddenly you're going, what have I done? Have you automatically gone to that rather than just thinking that person just wants to get your valuable expertise? Where do your common thought patterns lie? Do you see setbacks as temporary or are they permanent? Do you commonly view problems as an external cause or do you assume that they were under your personal control? Are you thinking, oh, that must be my fault, even though you actually had nothing to do with it? And do you use your natural adaptability in your career, just like you do in your personal life? Because I imagine that most of you in your personal life, you're always adapting, moving, shifting, and doing things. But sometimes we kind of take that hat off and then put a different one on for work. So are we integrating those types of mindset with it? Within Elevate, we love looking at the different mindset shifts, like I said, and actually looking at how we can use our reframing not only intrinsically in ourselves, but also how we can then use that within our leadership. So if you're hearing someone you work with constantly complaining about something or saying they can't do something, showing you tools on how you can help them shift their mindset without them directly knowing and you influencing a change in that culture and that environment and the general kind of energy within the team that you've got to be able to then be more productive, more efficient, get more results and those kind of things. So you're going to get higher cases of like no conflict, more an easier team to work with as well, depending on what teams you're working with now, of course. And I want to share this quote. This is Julia Gillard is the former Prime Minister of Australia, and she said the whirring stereotypes at the back of all our brains mean that when we close our eyes and are asked to picture a leading politician or a CEO, we're more likely to see a man in a suit than we are a woman. But by acknowledging that sexist baggage, we can second guess ourselves. I think we're starting to shift from it, but if you're honest with yourselves, do you picture a male when you think of those job roles? Because sometimes it's about us being more active with how we frame that in our mind as well. I remember seeing a show. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Let me know in the chat if you have. Very cheesy American show, but it was called The Bold Type. And it was all about a newspaper office publishing a fashion magazine, I think it was. And the woman comes in a bit like Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada, wearing all her fashion clothes and coming in, and everyone's going, oh no. And this boss was amazing. She was strong, she was powerful, but she was kind and empathetic. And she led from such a place of calm and consideration. Yes, Lindsay, it is a great show. um, And I remember being, this was only a few years ago, and I remember being, wow, I don't know when I've seen a female leader portrayed like that in a TV show. I don't know if people who've seen it, if you agree with me, because so many times it's like this whole idea of being like overbearing or anything like that. You know, actually, this was about someone being really centered and caring about everyone in their in her team, and actually leading from a place of strength from that femininity space. So if you haven't watched it, I invite you to watch it because I couldn't believe I was watching a cheesy American show just, as one of those moments of turn my brain off, but actually ended up being very inspired by this leadership modeling throughout the show. So that's all about the power of mindset, really. Because actually, if we know what's going on in ourselves intrinsically, it's going to affect the way that we are communicating out into the world as well. And so let's have a quick game. So in the chat, I'd love everyone to answer here. I'm going to ask you to complete this sentence in the chat and do your best to not look at everyone else's answer. I just want you to be honest with whatever popped into your mind as I say it, okay? You're going to fill in the blank. I would be an amazing architect if, and then fill in the blank. And if you are already an architect, use the job role as a pilot. Pop them in the chat. Michelle, thank you. I've just read your comment about your reframing of your career and your life. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really amazing. Right, let's see with some of these answers. I would be an amazing architect if I had the tools and expertise, if I had the time, if I was patient enough, if I could draw, if I was more creative, if I was skilled enough, if I could draw, if I was better at maths, if I could communicate my vision, if I studied at uni, if I had all the tools I needed, including the right team, thanks, Tammy, if I was still forward thinking, if I really wanted, if I was trained properly. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. If I actually knew what it actually entailed, yeah, absolutely, Rosie. This is the thing, keep them coming. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's like, what pops in our head? And often we get things like, I would be an amazing architect if this is the one I chose, I could do maths, like someone said. Or Amanda, I knew anything about buildings. Exactly. But actually, things like that with the I could do answers, they're actually showing us accidentally subtle limitations because they're automatically going to the negative about things that we can't do. And actually looking at that growth mindset of, I would be an amazing architect if I put my mind to it. Actually, there's a very different shift. And of course, there's going to be people who don't want to be architects. That's cool. But I hope it's just showing you like a really quick way of where our brains automatically go, what can't I do? What would I need to do to be able to do it? And there is an element of problem solving in there, which is great. But it's when we are accidentally sharing in our mind the things about, oh, I could do that if I could do that. How often is that hindering something and an opportunity in a sort of situation? Absolutely, Heidi, it's a gap analysis. It's where is that gap between us of what is stopping us from getting to the next stage? We want to build that growth mindset to be able to shift into that next space of resilience or learning or anything like that. Because actually, we're able to do that, but sometimes it's easier said than done because our brains are naturally wired to protect us. They are naturally wired to be in that negative space because that's what protected us back in the day. Back in cavemen days when we might be fear of being eaten or something like that, our brain was always wired, ready to go. That fight, flight, freeze situation of like, we need to protect ourselves. So everything is danger. We fast forward to now, and in the modern workplace environment, we're still looking for danger. It's just that we don't realize we're doing it. It's our body in the back of our mind doing it. So as you kind of move through this next week or so, just notice if your brain does a bit of a, oh, I could do that if I could do that. And just see if you could tell yourself a different story because your brain believes what you tell it. And sometimes it is simply telling yourself you can do something, as cheesy as it may sound to some of you. but that can really shift things. And that is then like a Pygmalion effect for your team. If you really believe something enough, it can happen. And if you do that with your team, if someone is struggling with something and you can start to get them to believe that they can do it by the way that you're feeding back to them and using language with them, they are then going to start to believe it themselves because you're helping their brain evidence it. So it's a real ripple effect on the team dynamics. So people will either internalize positive or negative labels. I wonder if any of you have ever had any negative labels that still as an adult today stick with you. I mean, I know you'll find this hard to believe, everybody, but I'm quite chatty. I know. How could you tell? But yeah, I used to be labeled as the chatterbox. I think I even got the Little Miss Chatterbox award at dance college back in the day. And I remember at the time feeling like that was a real negative thing. But I fast forward throughout my whole career, and it's all been about communicating, whether it's been communicating on stage, whether it's been communicating and doing motivational talks to business conferences, whether it's doing training like this, it's about me talking and sharing. And so actually, something that was actually a negative label has actually ended up being something that I've used throughout my life and has been a positive. So where can our negative labels show up? And is there a way of reframing them if we're not happy with them? Let me know. Anyone had any labels that are sort of like sticking with you and you're like, yeah, I got called that at school, or people say this about me. Can we reframe them? So the next stage is energizing. So this is all about how we use our energy in the day to day. So our sustainable practices to keep our leadership going and how we also restore our energy. Because actually, even like when we did our pit stop then, how often are you actually stopping and kind of recharging before you go out anymore? So questions to ask yourself. Do you know what drains your energy reserves? That could be personally and professionally. Do you know what lights you up? What really gets you in that flow state of just like, oh, yes, I love this. Do you believe in work-life integration? Now, what I mean by that is a lot of people go, oh, yeah, we need to get this work-life balance thing. But you know what? I kind of believe it's an integration because some people absolutely adore their jobs and they don't want a balance of work and life because actually their work energizes them as part of their life. Other people go to work because of work and then they want to focus more on their life. Everyone's got their different level. And I think calling it a balance could be shaming on some people who are like one thing over another or are passionate about lots of things. So, how do you integrate your work and your life? Because we still need to make sure internally there's an energy balance so you're fulfilling all the needs that you want. And through Elevate, I teach you different techniques and tools to actually utilize your energy. So things from a physical point of view, but also from your mindset point of view, of how you can actually start to embed practical and easy to apply tools in your day and actually then share them with your teams as well to help your energy throughout your work life and in your personal life. I'm just gonna have a look at the chat because I can see things coming in. Let's get rid of these negative labels. What we got going on here? I was always quiet. Who's that? Michelle. That meant that people open up to you more. Exactly. I love that. Love an event and promoting Gerald Trainee. Yeah. So Karen, you're great at like bringing out all of that, drawing people in and chatting to them. It's an important thing, isn't it? Rebecca, you have to enjoy your work as you spend so much time there. Yeah, it does help, doesn't it? I mean, you don't have to. I'm just going to pick up that language because, it's up to people, but I completely agree. It's so much more fulfilling, isn't it, when you do enjoy what you do? Love the language of integration over balance. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real, like, something that's been very passionate for me for like a long, long time of changing that narrative because I'm someone who loves my work. And so, but I also love being a mum and a friend and a partner and all those things. So actually, it's really important that, you don't feel ashamed about whatever our balance looks like for us. Sam, a teacher once told me I'd never amount to anything. I'm still trying to prove her wrong at 42. That's the thing, isn't it? Our subconscious beliefs are set by the age of 7. 7. That's crazy, isn't it? So the things that we explore on Elevate, we're kind of usually unwiring things that have been told to us or we felt when we were a kid. And so things still come through there. Sam, I relate to that. I mean, one of my teachers, music teachers back in primary school, told me I didn't have any rhythm. And then I got one of 12 scholarships to train in musical theatre and became a professional musical theatre performer, singing and dancing and acting. So I think I did have some rhythm. But luckily I didn't believe that person and I got very like, I'm going to prove them wrong. Oh, so withdrawn socially because of my job. Yeah, Wendy, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like we can start to kind of navigate and it might not be the way you want to. Like Wendy, like if you don't mind answering in the chat, like did you intentionally do that? Or was that a byproduct of something that's going on? Are you happy in that space? Would you like to get more of a social life back? These are the things. It doesn't matter, again, what it is you want, but it's tuning into what it is you want and helping you kind of navigate getting that back on track to how you want it. So we're now coming up to the top of our triangle, and I know we are whizzing through, and hopefully your brains aren't all going in your lunch breaks. But we're into behaviors and habits now. So something that you can explore later at home is a sort of self-audit in terms of how we are energizing ourselves. So thinking about our physical health, what's our stamina and our drive like? How much energy do we actually have right now? Like, do you take care of yourself or do you pop yourself at the bottom of the pile? In terms of our brain, our cognition, how easy do you find it to focus? What excites you? When are you in that flow state where you're just like, yeah, I'm just so in the zone right now? Socially, what is your relationship to others like? Do groups energize you or drain you? Do you go out? Do you have social life? Do you have a smaller friendship group, bigger friendship group? Is going to a community class really important to you? What is going on in your social side of things? Because as human beings, we need that connection, but it looks different to everybody. And emotional sides. Are we addressing our own psychological needs? What stresses us out? What gives us that anxiety? But on the other side, what actually makes our hearts sing and we go, oh, yes, I need more of that in my life? Because sometimes it could be that we're looking at this and we're going, yep, I'm fulfilled in that space, in that space, in that space. But maybe there's another space where it's like that's kind of maybe gone under the radar a little bit because you've been doing other things. So this is just about bringing awareness of having that whole state of those four quadrants, because that's going to make us feel more fulfilled, more happy. And therefore, when we're going to be a better leader for our teams. We're going to communicate more effectively. We're going to motivate, we're going to delegate and do all those things to empower everybody else to be able to get all the results that we want in our job roles. So engaging, that's our last space in our centered leadership model. And this is about risk taking and getting action. Because some people think about things just happen to you. Do you guys agree? Things just happen to you. Or is it that you make things happen? Because actually, we can often, yeah, a lot of people say both. So often we can get stuck in that space of like, we'll just wait for something to happen because if it's right or if it's meant to be, it will be. But you know what? Sometimes we have to just break that pattern and have the confidence to dive into something, to use our brains to assess risks and then decide if we're going to go for it. Because actually, if you're willing to take a little bit of a risk and navigate that in a way that feels aligned to your meaning and to the way you're connecting and all of those things from centered leadership, it's then going to actually only be a positive effect in your life, no matter what it is. And we all know that what comes with risk is sometimes we might not get it right. But I'm a big believer that even if that's not right, it just means something else is over the next kind of hurdle, really. And so on Elevate, we really look at how we navigate risk, how we can use techniques and our mindset to decide whether something's right for us and how we're going to approach that, how we're going to go for it, and then actually practice doing that in our safe space of the course so that actually we feel like we can actually go into our workplace or in our personal life, because a lot of these things do cross over because we're a human being who has both. Yeah, we are the same person. Again, it's that integration and how you can then navigate whatever's coming through. Because how many people are doing the whole moment here when we think of risk? We get that fear, we get that idea of doubt, that idea that we're going to struggle with something. But actually, if you really think back in your life about all the things that have been good, I'm sure that we can all realize that usually there's a bit of that in any of our decisions, even the good stuff. I love it, Wendy. Both, it's great when a plan comes together. Absolutely. Or when you make something happen, it's such a good feeling. Absolutely. So we want to reframe risk as something that is positive. Intentional risk, I should state, rather than just taking a risk out of nowhere. We want to be intentional with it. But if we reframe risk as something that actually we can do, if we choose to, then we can actually welcome it all and we can step into those new opportunities. So I know this has been a crazy quick whistle stop tour of the centered leadership model. And hopefully there's lots of things now whirring in your mind that you can go away and explore. But I would also love to invite you to join me if you're interested in joining me on Elevate, because Elevate is over 5 sessions and each session is focused on one of those areas. So the meaning, connection, energizing, framing, and engaging. We do one session on each one. It's half a day each time. And I've got 2 cohorts coming because I know some people are more local to where I am right now and some people are a bit further afield. So on the 24th of September, I'll be starting my in-person course, which will be at Gerald Training in Norwich. And I have a virtual one starting on the 5th of November. So depending on where you are in the world, please join me. I'd love to have you there. We're going to really deep dive. Every cohort I do of Elevate, we run the course in the same way in terms of the models, but it's so much about who we have on the course and how we're learning from each other and each other's experiences, how we can navigate that model to your specific job role and your specific industry, because everyone's coming from a very different place. So it's a very personalized course I'm very proud of, and we keep the numbers small on it because of that very reason. So if anyone is interested, then I would also love to offer you a discount. Who doesn't love a discount? So I hope you heard my little sound effect. It didn't work last time. Did you hear it? Yay, cheesy, I know. So if you are interested, you can go to our website, geraldtraining.co.uk/elevate, and you'll find out all the information on the course. And there's also a video of me talking through the course in a bit more detail. But also, if you've got any questions at all, you're also very welcome to email me. Karen, do you mind popping my email in the chat for me so everyone can copy it? That would be amazing. And if you'd like to join, then you're very welcome to use our discount code IMPACT10, which is just for you guys. Thanks, Karen. And there also is an opportunity for some of you, potentially you could be eligible for up to 70% funding. So if you are interested in it, then I do suggest you give the team, the admin team, and give Karen, she's amazing, a call on the number below, or you can give me an email, because that would be, then we can find out whether you are eligible, of course. So if anyone has any questions at all about the course, I'm happy to hang around afterwards and I can answer them. Or if you've got any, then you can pop them in the chat. That's absolutely fine. But before people start to sign off, because I know we're getting close to time now, I want to leave you with 4 final questions if you want to answer them and think about them in your own time. So are you a member of a community that pushes you just beyond your comfort zone and your learning zone? Because sometimes we can stay in our safe space and we hang around the same people. Are you in a space which can then push you a little bit further? Do you have conversations with people who are slightly ahead of you or who intimidate you perhaps on a regular basis? Are you part of a community where you're encouraged to own your accomplishments and you can safely share your struggles? And are you ready to explore your potential personally and professionally? Because if you are, then I'd love to keep the conversation going. And remember, whether you want to join Elevate or you don't, now you are in this space, then you have access to myself and Karen. So if you ever have any questions about anything to do with training needs or anything to do with that mindset side of things, then you know where we are, because we are here to support people. It's not just about one course. So if you do want to stay behind and ask me any questions, then please do. Karen, I don't know if I missed any questions in the chat. If you could quickly let me know before people start to log off, that would be amazing, just so I don't forget anyone. Oh, thank you, everyone. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. That's great. No, I've answered everything. Brilliant. So before Lindsay, if you hang back afterwards, I can let you know about the not the 790%, but the 70% for sure. Then absolutely no problem. And before you go, I'd love you to let me know in one sentence how you found today's training. What's kind of landed in your head and you're like, I might go and explore that, or I feel really energized to go and do this. If you have time, I'd love to hear from you. If not, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you again on another webinar, or of course, join me on Elevate. Take care, everyone. And I'll stay behind if anyone has any questions, and we can unmute in a moment. Lots to think about, thought-provoking. Really enjoyed your energy. Thank you. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Marie. Interesting and inspiring. Thanks, Rebecca. Great prompts for journaling. Oh, good. Let me know what you come up with as well. Lively, energizing, and encouraging. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Louise. Ah, I'm glad. That's brilliant. Thanks, Jodie. Now, as we are kind of getting into the smaller numbers now, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to stop my sharing now so I can actually see people. And I'm just going to stop the recording, actually.